Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome to the Deal Scout. This is one of my favorite shows because I get to look at deals all day long. I get to talk with deal makers. I get to learn from their experience. And then the mission and purpose of this show is as you're listening into these conversations, the stories, the tactics of these professional deal makers, is that you, the audience, and our community reach out to our guests, say thanks for being on the show, and find a way to do a deal with them. Mission and purpose of the show is put deals and deal makers together. So let's dive into today's conversation. We're going to be talking with Mr. Stash, who's going to talk to us about machine learning, AI, all this interesting stuff, and how that can make you a better deal maker and get you more deals. Stash, welcome to the show.
Josh, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So you're in your home in Cincinnati, but in the background, I see a picture, a car. What significance does that car have to you?
Well, on this side, this is it's like a, BMW 35 CSI that's been tuned up. And then on this side, that's a Ferrari 1967 S. Um, I guess those will be in my garage one day.
Yeah. So those are the dream cars. That's like your vision board behind you. And that inspires you to close more deals so you could get the 1967 Ferrari, right? Because that'd be fun to ride around in.
Yeah, exactly.
When that happens, I'll come up for a ride and you and I will go for a ride and we'll do a podcast interview from your Ferrari. Does that sound good?
That would be great. I would love it.
All right. So Stash, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Stash. I'm a commercial real estate broker. I specialize in multifamily investment properties, and I'm the managing director of the Cincinnati office for Capstone Apartment Homes. I've been with Capstone for since 2016, so 6, 7 years now. And before that, we were with another regional shop. We were with SVN that has since rebranded. Um, I got my license in February of '08, so it was a great time to start. And it took me a while to get some traction, but um, once I did, I started to build a team, and I've been together with those teammates for about 10 years now.
Wow.
So that's kind of my day job, and the reason I reached out to you is um, so being a broker, I've noticed that there's a lot of data out there. And, the maybe the beauty and the downfall of commercial real estate is that there is a lot of data, but it's not very well organized or categorized. And, some of the platforms out there, which I'll leave unnamed, they do a good job at bringing it together, but they haven't done anything to, try and predict when a property might transact. They just report it after the fact.
Yeah.
Um, and so, being a broker and being new to the market, I got here in 2011, here to Cincinnati in 2011, and had no contacts, no connections. And so I like to say I've cold called all of my friends. Um, you know, I have experienced this thing time and again where it's like I'll talk to somebody and they're like, no, we're not doing anything right now. And then I'll see a transaction pop off and it's like, what just happened? Like, what did I miss?
Mhm.
Um, so the thought was, what if you could use data and analytics to predict transactions before they occur? And so I had this thought was rolling around in my head for a little while. And I had a friend come to me who said, hey, my partners and I are involved in software and, we would like to get into real estate. And I was like, well, if you guys have a software background, what about this? And I pitched him on the idea. And he's like, all right, well, let me go talk to my partners. And they came back. I think we had lunch the next week, and they're like, yeah, this thing has legs. And so, for about 2 years now, we've been having a meeting. At first, it started weekly, and now it's every morning, working on the platform that we've created to predict, to fulfill that hypothesis that I initially came up with.
Yeah.
The platform is called Nedl, and my partner Maher is in charge of data and analytics for a large bank here in town. and we've got a whole team based offshore that is really doing the hard work of understanding the data, putting it all together, creating the analytics, and building the platform, building the user interface.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we're working on.
Yeah. So this is really cool. You got started in February of 2008. I was in real estate. I got started a little bit before that, but I threw in the white flag in 2008 because I got my butt whooped. But you got in at the best time to get into real estate, I think. I got
I,
out at the best time in real estate. So depending on what kind of deals you were doing is when you get in or when you get out. What inspired you to get into real estate in '08?
yeah, that's a great question. So my mom was a residential agent, and I saw the success that she had and was kind of generally unemployable otherwise. So I figured out the commercial real estate thing and made up my mind sometime in college that that was the dream I was going to go pursue. Um, and so I graduated in '06. I went to Boston for a year, kind of met with all the developers and brokers, and really just couldn't get any traction. And so I had some friends and family in California. So that's what drew me out there. And I got essentially like an intern at a small brokerage firm. And the guy that I was working for, he saw kind of my work ethic and my hustle, and he's like, "Want to buy an apartment building?" And I was like, "That's exactly what I want to do. That's why I'm here." And so we syndicated a 33 unit, and then we also did a partnership on a 40 unit. And but the timing was just challenging.
Yeah.
Um, so like the 33 unit, we were going to buy that and another property, I think like 24 units from the same family. And Washington Mutual was scheduled to be our lender. And I remember waking up, a week or two before closing was set, and the news said Washington Mutual has declared bankruptcy this morning. And
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know a lot, but I don't think that's a good thing.
That's not a good thing.
No, it was not. So we had to regroup, and we ended up arranging a seller financing, and we got our investors out whole on that one, but certainly didn't hit the home run that we had projected going in.
Yeah, man. So I was building spec homes based on appreciation, and we built $8 million worth of spec homes with me and partners and investors because we were the Florida market was just crushing, man. We were doing so good in '04, '05, '06. Oh shit, things got scary, right? But you got in at an interesting time because as the market was dipping, right, good value started to pop up places. And for people in commercial real estate, I thought that posed the perfect storm to learn and to really do some interesting acquisitions because that's when the dry powder came out, right? That's when people who were sitting like some cash, they came out, and that's when they accelerated wealth. Did you experience that?
Yeah, I mean, those first couple of years, so why did I start right then? Well, I'd worked so hard to get in, and then
Mm-hmm.
once I was in, I was like, well, I'm not just going to give up now. Like I've already come this far. And that's kind of always been my mentality. But yeah, like, the first '08, '09, '10, things were kind of stagnant at that point because the market was still working itself out. But, I came here to Cincinnati for a couple of deals that, I mean, they were 25 caps on
Wow.
real expenses. Um, and so my brokerage career really started to pick up in 2013. Like I did 15 deals on my own, and I was like, I need some help. So
Yeah.
that's when things have done well for us since then.
Yeah. So from '08 to 13, it's a
Yeah,
grind. You're knocking on doors, you're hustling. People
yeah,
saw your work ethic and your hustle. What does that look like? How do you know? All right, so you and I, let's just say we're partners and we
yeah,
have a brokerage and we're interviewing a deal maker right in front of us. How do we know that that person is going to be a winner, right? Based on their work ethic. What are some signs, that you look for in a good team member?
Um, that's a good question. You want to kind of look at some intangibles maybe of uh, you know, at Capstone, it's kind of like, would you like going and having a beer with this person, among other things? Like, do they pass the personality test, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's one thing, like, because you're going to spend a lot of time with this person, um, either directly or indirectly. Because if they're in your office or they're on your team, um, they become almost a part of the family, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's one thing. It was said to me, and I believe it's true, that people that came up playing sports, and they don't necessarily have to be full on college athletes, but at least kind of if you're going to be on a team, um, you know, having played sports on a team and understanding that it's not all up to you and that some people are goalies and some people are out there scoring goals, right? Like there are those complementary skill sets that you need on a team. And that's honestly, we've built that here in my office, and that's been a great thing because, like I can do it all, but that doesn't mean I'm the best at doing it all. So,
Yeah.
kind
What is your superpower as a deal maker?
I'm gonna cold call the shit out of the market if they tell
Yes.
me.
So you've got the strongest index finger from hitting those buttons and cold calling.
Yeah,
You'll cold call. I love it, man.
yeah.
Um, so
Just brute force.
brute force, yeah. When I first got my real estate license, I was handed a white page. Remember that back in the day? Here's a white page, and I just started. I figured since everybody in the group got the same white page, I would start in the D's or the E's because everybody started in the A's. So I would
Right.
just call people and all day long, hey, blah blah blah, right? Horrible conversion rate, right? Then, and I'm gonna compare this to what you're building with Needle. I was like, man, I'm getting 100 no's per day and I'm getting brutalized, right? And my ears are worn out. But then I started walking neighborhoods and then I would look for indicators that this person might need help. Tall grass, right? Unmanicured house, right? Things that are just in disarray. I'd knock on their house and say, pretty much, do you need help? I bring an investor. My conversion rate went through the roof and I found my niche with working with investors. So I say that because there's predictive indicators like you're doing with Needle.
Yeah.
For me, you could cold call people all day because there's the data there, even back in the day with White Page. But when you could see indicators that there's a deal ready to be had, your conversion rates go up. So that's what you're doing with Needle but you're doing it at a scale using AI and machine learning, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, it's true machine learning. And, what I've seen as a broker in underwriting deals, every year, we probably underwrite like 1,000 deals a year, like no joke.
Wow.
And there are commonalities that you see time and again. It's oftentimes they'll take, the occupancy will drop because they're executing a value add, um, or it's a lease up deal and the occupancy will drop and then come back up, or it'll just start to go up because it's a new construction. You'll also see rental rates start to increase with that as well because they're executing on the value add. They're improving the units. They're getting a higher rental rate. Um, then there are other things like if they're a merchant developer, well, their behavior pattern is not to hold, it's to sell. Um, or if they're a value add group and their typical hold period is 5 years and they're in year 4, well, that's a tell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Other things like the debt maturing. Um, we've compiled all of these things: rental rates, occupancies, the changes in those, the what the subject property is doing as compared to its comp set, ownership behavior patterns, loan maturities, things like that. And we've compiled every single property in the United States, 50 units or greater, And we flag them as hot, warm, and cold. And then there's a set that just aren't in there for various reasons. We do have the ability to move them in the pipeline. And, we give this data set. And so for brand new guys to business, or newer to business, maybe, it gives them something to, tangibly hold on to and reach out with confidence and say, hey, I'm calling about, Stonebrook Farms. And this owner may have 20 other properties, but if you're calling on one specifically and you have a reason why you're calling, they're much more inclined uh, and likely to have a conversation with you than if you call them and say, hey, Mr. Owner, I see you have 20 properties. Do you want to sell any of them? The answer is going to be no every time. But if you call and say, hey, I'm calling about this specific property for these reasons,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? All right, well, let's talk. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I've seen it work personally.
Hey, it looks like you have a loan coming up for maturity. Are you got, like what's the plan for it? Right? They
Yeah,
might be caught with their pants down because they were betting on a 3% or 4% interest rate, and now we're at, 7 or plus, right? Like that changes the economics of the deal big time. And they
yeah,
might not be prepared for that. So you posing that question, if they don't have a good answer, you might have a solution for them, right?
right. Yeah, it's a simple question. It's just like, hey, I see you have a maturity coming up in less than a year. What are your plans? And you and I know that, a year in commercial real estate is a pretty short amount of time.
Yeah.
Like, things move at a glacial pace. So it's like, you got to do something. And if, in your case, a sale or a refinance is what they want to explore, then that's something. If they want to explore a sale, we're happy to help.
Yeah, right. Because that's how we make money. We make money when there's a transaction occurs. That's when we make money. What I love about what you're doing is you've been specializing in multifamily. You've taken every single multifamily property in the U.S. above a certain threshold. You put the data together based on your experience, because a lot of times people build stuff with no experience, right? They have a hypothesis about this software will work, but now you've taken experience and technology and put it together to give indicators of when a transaction may come due, right? Wow. So as you're building this, you've got, there's the I would love to hear your thoughts on this because I struggle with this as a founder, as a visionary. They're like, you gotta, Gary Keller says, you gotta do your one thing, right? You gotta focus, right? You gotta do this. And here you are, you're building two machines. What would how does that work out in your brain? What is your thoughts on that? Because some people would say you only need to do one. I myself, I'm building three different animals at the same time. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, they're complementary, right? It's
Hmm.
not like they're complete. It's not like I've got an e-commerce business and then I'm selling real estate on the other side. So, I will spend a couple hours in the platform and just start pinging our team of engineers like, this doesn't work. We need to change this. We need to rework this. And my partner's like, I love that you're providing all the feedback. I was like, I hope I'm not coming off like a dick. I'm just saying like it needs to work this way. Because if not, like, salespeople and brokers, we have very short attention span. It doesn't work right away, then we're not going to give it another shot. And so that's what we're doing right now is beta testing it to make sure that it works, so that when we go live to market, that it works how it should.
Yeah.
Uh, and then we've got plans for future iterations and all that. But I'm using it actively just about every day to go out and aid my prospect.
So
So
it's actually you're building something that supports and helps your existing business and that will help support existing businesses elsewhere too. So it's not you're not, selling fluffy socks on the internet. This tool is what you need to do your job better.
yeah, and it's great because I can spend time in it giving feedback to my engineers while I'm also spending time in it prospecting for new business for my brokerage business. So it's like it's two birds with one stone. It's not bad.
Yeah. And building a company, a software company with a good MRR, with the value there, that's pretty attractive too.
We're hopeful. Yeah. Cautiously optimistic.
Yeah. All right. So as you're building these things, what does the future of Needle look like to you?
Yeah. So right now we're in the beta testing phase. We're going to embark upon our capital raising probably sometime in Q1. I think at that point we'll expand upon existing capabilities, and we have a whole roadmap of everything that we want to build out based upon feedback, as well as just we'll get in these brainstorming sessions with guys like yourself or other users, like, what if it could do this? What if it could do that? How about this? And you can jump 10 yards in the future, so to speak. And it's like, all right, yes, let's put these on paper, but let's really focus on what we're doing right now. Let's make sure it's bulletproof, airtight. And then we'll probably spread out, we'll add existing capabilities to the platform as it is. Then we'll spread out to other product types and add other scoring systems and things like that. So,
Yeah. I think it's brilliant. Here's how I would, as a deal maker myself, and I'm building a bunch of stuff. I'm in the thick of it, right? I love being in the trenches in deals, right? It's so fun for me to originate deals, to put deals together. This is how I would leverage your platform. I would find a guy like you, like me, who will knock on doors all day long, who cold call people. They're hungry. They've got a little bit of talent, but they're hungry. And I would create the list for them. Instead of giving them the white pages, I would give them a page out of the white pages with call these 10 people using
yeah,
your platform, right? So leaders of deal teams can leverage your software to tell the acquisition teams, these are the properties you guys should focus on this week. Go get them, boys. Go get them,
yeah,
girls. Let's go for it, right?
yeah. So we've got it broken out by state. So there's a couple of different screens in there. You've got the login screen that kind of gives an overview, it gives some headlines, and it's got a news ticker of recent transactions. And you've got the meat of the platform, which is the intelligent leads section. And that, you can filter it by state. I think we're going to add some more granular filters. So it's like, if you only want to look at properties of this vintage, or in this city or submarket, um, that would be a way to do it. If you only want to call on the hot leads first, do that first. And then we've, we've got guys within Capstone who are calling on it, and they're pulling 7 sets of financials out of it within their first 2 weeks. So, I mean, that's pretty powerful. And
Yeah.
we've back tested our algorithms, our formulas, and in what was it, 2021, I think we were about 44% accurate. And 2022, we were about 47%. So I think the goal would be 1-to-1, but if you're still at half, that's not bad.
Yeah. It's so good because you could drive down the street and just knock on doors all day long, right? You could do that. You could sit in front of a computer and say, oh man, I was going to make 100 calls today. These are the ones I should start with, right? So it helps you prioritize urgency, and it gives you intelligence about the specific property. Hey, I saw you have a bunch of properties you want to sell. No. Hey, I saw you have this building on 3rd Street that's coming up for maturity. Do you need any help with it? Right? I could bring some financing. I could bring a buyer. I could bring strategic partners. What do you need?
Yeah, what are your plans for the property? That's what I've been asking. What are your plans?
Yeah,
Because open-ended, you're not suggesting any solutions, and it's just let's see if we can help.
man, that's so cool. Do you think so? Over time, your accuracy of data will improve, right? And that makes you more and more valuable. Do you think you will take objective things like this is a class A, class B, class C? Do you think you'll start to create structure around those kind of things where it's not as much objective, but it's more structured?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Um, I'm just a guy who had an idea who teamed up with another guy who's got the know-how to slice and dice the data. So yeah, absolutely. And I think that we're looking at things like, so for instance, if you only want to look at, Class A deals in these specific markets, well, that's something that's on our roadmap to be able to dissect the data and then be able to call on things. We're also, thinking about things for ownership groups so that they can, better target their acquisition lists and disposition lists and refinance needs. So that, for instance, if somebody's saying, okay, I've got maturities coming up on these three assets in the next, 18 to 24 months, call me, click a button, that'll send out a lead to you and me. I'm interested in refinancing or potentially selling. That's going to flag them for us. And so we can go out and have an intelligent conversation. Hey, Mr. Owner, I see that you indicated that you may be interested in, selling or refinancing this. Turns out that's what I do. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah, man, it meets the person's motivation and needs with the potential service that you provide as a broker or
Right.
as a, financier or as an investor, right? It allows you to, and this is where the name Needle came from. Is why don't you tell us the name and the meaning?
Yeah, I mean, it came from a frustration, and it's like, how do you find that needle in the haystack? That's what we're trying to do. Because otherwise, you pull a market and they've got 1,000 properties, and you can start from A, you can start from Z, you can start in the middle. How are you going to find that opportunity without just brute force? Well, that's what we're trying to do is help brokers, lenders, acquisition people, asset managers be more efficient with their time and not so much be another cost that you have to foot the bill on, but we'd ideally like to be a supplement or a replacement to some of these other data providers out
Yeah. Do you have any plans in your map to go into different asset classes? Because right now you guys specialize in multifamily.
there. Yeah, it's like start with what you know. But absolutely, yeah, I think as we, get the platform solidified, then we'll expand into other asset classes for sure.
What asset class do you think you will avoid or make last? Like if you're prioritizing, hey, this is multifamily, game on, right? Like this is where we're at. Next one, next one, next one. What is like last in line? You're like, don't have much interest, or if we do, it'll be last.
So as I'm thinking out loud, and I think what we've kind of deciphered would, hotels might be next on the list. I think self-storage would be an easy add. Manufactured housing, maybe. I think that's a little murkier based on my, experience with friends who specialize in that. I feel like industrial, and I don't know a whole lot about it, but I feel like that's pretty structured. So like as long as you have the data, you can figure that out. Office is, in flux right now, so maybe that's the last one. And retail, I think what we've seen is that, for experiential or service-based retail, that's irreplaceable, especially service-based. Like you can't go get your hair cut online. My wife loves to get her nails done. She's not going to go order that from Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Unless they do send nail techs out. I don't know. Maybe that's the thing, but
That might be the next thing, right?
yeah.
Who
So
knows?
I think that there's a possibility in a use case for all the different product types. It's going to take, a little bit of figuring to, my partner Maher likes to say, think it through. We'll just have to think it through.
Yeah. So Stash, you and I are getting ready to go on a campaign. Man, we know we got to go crush some deals. And here's a phone, Josh. Here's a phone, Stash. We're getting ready to make some calls, right? Boots on the ground. Like it's time to go to war, right? Like we need to go hunting. This is when they call you and I out. So we got it, but mindset for cold calling, you're going to get a lot of rejections, and there's a lot of people out there who know, hey man, good things happen when I cold call people, but it could be brutal on mindset, and it could be brutal on the rejection, to be honest. How do
Yeah.
you prepare yourself? Because you know you got to make a month worth or 6 months worth of cold calling every day. How do you prepare yourself for that?
Yeah, so I've set some pretty simple benchmarks for myself.
Mhm.
Um, I've always uh, said, if I can have 10 conversations a day, 50 a week, I can go home at the end of the day or end of the week with my head held high because I've done that minimum standard. Now that doesn't mean I get to 10 at 2 o'clock and I take off. It's like, no, you put on the gas.
Yeah.
But so having that minimum standard of 10 conversations, and I have myself and my team have divvied that up amongst, like, if you're doing deal making, well, that's going to cut into your prospecting time, but those are still, you know, necessary conversations. But if you're talking with buyer and seller 3 times each a day, you only get to count one of those on each. So um, you can't hide behind, oh, I was doing this. It's like, no, you got to get out
Yeah.
there. So, and you're going to get kicked in the teeth a lot, but you know, what I've found, and I'm sure you have as well, is the harder you work, the luckier you get, right? Like, um, and some of the best conversations I've had have been at 6 o'clock when nobody's there. And it's, you pick up the phone and you're like, just one more. You pick up the phone and you have a conversation and it leads to an opportunity. And that, is something that your competition isn't doing. Um, so, but those only come after you've gotten 15 times previous that day.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask a few more questions about the cold calling? Because you're a cold
I,
calling machine.
I
And
love it.
yeah, I do too. I don't like the actual cold calling. What I love is the results, right? I love the meat it produces and the fruit it produces because it does work, because I think the majority of people are afraid to do it. So that's why I do things that most people are afraid to do.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I'm a human, and especially if you know, if I'm having issues at home, or the wife and I get in an argument, or I stub my toe and I'm pissed off, or fill in the blank, whatever it is, and then I get on the phone call. I know I need to make, 100 calls today, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I get that no, and I'm defeated and my energy's depleted. How do you get back up? Because I just made one call. I know I've got 99 more to go, but I already lost the battle, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning. How do you get back in the game?
Um, well, I mean, I like I start my day at 4:45. I get up and I go to the gym, and I'm at the gym at 5:30. And so I kick my ass first, before anybody else can. I do it to myself, and I go hard 5 days a week. So it's like, at the very least, I got that out of the way. And then you just break it down into chunks. Like, I don't look at it as I've got 100 calls. It's like I've got 10 sets of 10, maybe, if you want to think about it like that. Or that's why I focused on the conversations, because, and I used to keep a little notebook at my desk. And every day I would just write the date, and it was calls, conversations, meetings, and I would just make a check mark every time I had one. And at the end of the week, you add them up, and you've hit your goal. Um, and so it's having those little goals in between the larger ones, little
Yeah.
milestones that you can strive for and hit and achieve that help. And it's also, I don't know about you, but for me, the closing is anticlimactic. Like when you get the check or the wire confirmation, it's like, all right, great. It's really when you get somebody on the line that says, yeah, I am interested in selling, for me.
That's the
Um,
high.
that it's like, fuck yeah, let's go. Um,
Yeah.
that, or like all right, I'll send you financials, and then you get them, and then you forward them to your analyst, and you're like, look what I just did. It's like
I
silly, but
created something out of nothing. I hunted and I took something down that is a joy. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. So it's that experience. And then there's a lot of caffeine involved, candidly. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Coffee, scotch.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So I love this conversation. You could, when you're deal maker, you know when someone's been in the trenches because these kind of things, we know the game and it is not for everyone. We know not everyone can do it. And
Yeah.
that's why there's a joy and this feeling of accomplishment when like in wrestling back in the day when I pinned someone, I was like, boom. In this
Have
game, it's like
that as well.
when you get that deal on the deck, you're like, whoo, look what I got out of nothing. That's
Right.
fun. This is where I made a mistake as a deal maker. I closed a big deal, money's in the bank, and I'm like, awesome. I turn off the phone at 2 o'clock and I go buy some, shotgun or I go buy some toys. I celebrate.
Yeah.
The best time to do a deal is when you just closed the deal because you're on fire, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. But I do think that, I'm very hard on myself, and I've learned to slowly have learned to not be as hard on myself. So I do think that celebrating is good, but I don't ever turn my phone off. But it's interesting, like my phone is live, 8 to 5, 8 to 6, Monday through Friday. But really on the weekends, I don't have that much traffic. Like, so it just that is what, and I've made it very clear. And I'm at a point in my career where if you're calling me on a Saturday, it better be either really important, um, or you don't know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, then I'm not going to pick up your call. So I'll get to you on Monday.
Yeah. That's so interesting because yes, I too am, I love what you say. I kick my ass before anybody else can, right? That's cool.
Yeah.
But guys like us, deal makers like us, gals like us, right, are hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
How do you reset so you don't bring that harshness on others?
That's taken me a while to figure out as well. Um, I think part of it is, you got to give people the benefit of the doubt, and you also have to understand that you're catching them in the middle of something else. So what's been really interesting and I think helpful for me, and I think something that's made me a better broker was starting to buy and manage my own deals. Like, so I did a value add on an 8 unit deal, and that gave me a much clearer idea and understanding of how to operate and run an asset than I ever had prior to that.
Yeah.
Then the other thing that has come from that is I'll get cold calls from other salespeople, and cold calling myself for a living. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt up front, but if they're not quick with it, you cut them off. Sorry, I got to go. Click. Um, and so that's helped me figure out, okay, you got to have a good pitch and you got to have a good, um, hook, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, um, the other thing is that you can hear when somebody picks up and they hear, oh, it's you. Okay. I'm like, I'll tell them, I'm like, it's all right. I'm not here to bite. Like, here's why I'm calling. Like, I'll kind of call them out on their frown over the phone. It doesn't happen all the time. It's just once in a while, but I get a
Yeah.
kick.
Yeah. So this is something I just recently turned off. I had any type of, if I didn't know the number, it went straight to voicemail. And I recently changed it because I got a cold call that I thought was one of my clients calling. So I answered it and the guy was good. So I actually like enjoyed someone cold calling me.
Yeah.
So when someone's cold calling you, they've got like 3 to 5 seconds to either capture your attention or get the red button. What's going to capture your attention enough to get them 10 more seconds?
They get right to the point and have a compelling hook, right? Like, mine is, hey, this is Stats with Capstone. The reason I'm calling today is there it
Boom.
is.
Yeah.
Um, and not Oh, hey, how are you? How's your day going? Don't waste my time. Like nothing sends me through the roof quicker than that. Uh, like get to the point.
Yeah.
And that's me. Like that's how I'm wired. Like my colleagues are different in that way. So, but I'm like, are we going to do this or not? Because if not, I got to go find somebody that is.
Very cool. So let's do this. For deal makers out there, especially in multifamily, you're a broker, you're in finance, you're in acquisitions, you're in investments, right? Like, and you want to leverage technology to make your game better. Where could people go to learn more about your product?
Great. Needle.us, Nedl.us is our landing page. From there, you can fill out a form at the bottom. I'll reach out. Um, happy to show you a demo. We're not live yet, so I can't sign you up, but that would be the best place to go.
Yeah. So you're looking for the first group of people who come in who get to get a lot of value because you're going to give them demo and you're going to show them some stuff. But this is kind of like behind the scenes. You guys get to explore this, and they get to experience that early on with you to get feedback and to get that initial value. When do you think the big launch will be where that offer is no longer?
Yeah, so I think we're targeting a January official rollout.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
so, we've with our user groups, we're having kind of weekly or bi-weekly feedback calls where it's like, hey, have you been on it? What do you think? What do you like? And then with each user group that we have a WhatsApp chat set up where um, they can provide feedback directly to my engineers. Um, and then I'm hosting and moderating those feedback calls. So it's like, yeah, I've noticed that too, or this is how you do it, sorts of things. So
Man, super cool, Stash. What question should I have asked you during this interview that you wish I would have asked you? Like we hang up and you're like, oh man, I wish Josh would have asked me about this.
I think we covered it. I think I've had a great time. This has been a lot of fun, Josh.
Me too.
I think we covered it, really.
Cool.
Yeah.
So one more time, where can people find this software?
Yeah, so it's needle.us. You can find me on LinkedIn, Stash Geleszinski, or if you just search Needle, Nedl. There is an audio company that I think they do. I don't know what they do, but that's not us. Um, or on Instagram, it's 5TA, 5IU, and I think we have a Needle Instagram account as well. But yeah, just reach out or on the Capstone website, capstone-companies.com. I do take calls from random numbers because you never know who it's going to be, and yeah, I'm happy to chat.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Stash, thanks for coming on the show. Fellow deal makers in the audience, as always, reach out to our guests and say thanks for being on the show. Their contact information will be in the show notes below. Reach out to them and say, hey, I'd like to get a demo. I'd like to take a look at this because I think that this will help my business accelerate. The mission and purpose of the Deal Scout is to put deals and deal makers together so we can learn and grow and build this community of freaking deal makers and make a lot of money, right? That's why we're doing this. So if you have a deal that you'd like to talk about here on the show or some type of software or tech enablement platform that helps deal makers like me, head on over to thedealscout.com, fill out a quick form, and maybe we'll get you on the show next. Till then, we'll talk to you all on the next episode. Love you guys. Bye-bye.